Ever since it was first released, tons of people spent countless hours discovering all the secrets and hidden details Team Cherry baked into Hollow Knight Silksong over its 7-year development. I was one of those people. It was great finding out things like you can pick up the red quill from ᵗⁱż or the purple quill from him. However, I also had another passion in this game. Almost the opposite passion. To find all the mistakes, glitches, and other problems in Silksong. Finding some big glitches was like finding ᵗⁱż's purple quill for me at some points in the past. And while I spent a ton of time already covering glitches, I haven't talked as much about mistakes. This video will cover 5 times where Team Cherry's code didn't fail, but it worked exactly as they intended. Unfortunately, they made some mistakes in designing their code and writing some dialogue in this game. And all of that is very, very fascinating to me because Team Cherry doesn't often make mistakes. They spent a long time doing quality control for this game after all. So, if you enjoy seeing this kind of information, this ultimately useless but very interesting content in my mind, please leave a like and let's get on with the mistakes. We need to head to Lost Verdania to show you the first mistake, my dear viewer. And while we are doing so, let us all appreciate the Green Prince's booming, beautiful singing voice.
No, in shadow, in shadow. No.
It's a wonderful thing. But now that we're in Verdania proper, I wanted to show off my crafting kit. It's upgraded once, and I have a rosary cannon. I am in Verdania because I wanted to test this rosary cannon out on the Clover Stags. Now, if you go on the Hollow Knight wiki, you'll see that a rosary cannon with 1 crafting kit upgrade should be dealing between 3 and 2 damage on each shot it does versus any enemy in this game. However, you'll find that those numbers aren't reflected by the footage here. Instead, I deal 4 and 3 damage. This is not a mistake. This is a reflection of Team Cherry's new damage modifier system, where low upgrades sometimes get boosts in damage, so that you don't feel too bad in late game areas without a ton of upgrades on your person. Well, if we want to improve our damage, we don't just rely on enemy modifiers, we can just upgrade our crafting kit. We have gone from upgrade 1 to upgrade 2, and that should, in theory, improve all damage we deal with all our tools. It's an objective improvement, it's an upgrade, and yet, we find the mistake right here. We have lost damage from going to crafting kit 1 to crafting kit 2. We have gone from 4 and 3 to 4 and 2 damage with the rosary cannon. It is crazy that you can lose damage in this game while upgrading yourself, but that is one of the mistakes Team Cherry made in designing this new damage modifier system. Because the Clover Stag gives you a boost to your damage when you have only 0 or 1 upgrade to your crafting kit, and it does not boost your damage when you have 2 upgrades to your crafting kit, that means that the boost that Team Cherry gave passively to these creatures overtakes the boost you get by upgrading your crafting kit. In that sense, Team Cherry has made a mistake in game design, because having a permanent upgrade take away damage from certain enemies in a video game is just, it's a bad idea, unless you're making some kind of meta game that's commenting on the nature of upgrades in games. But Team Cherry's not doing that. They're just trying to make a cool Metroidvania with a lot of depth in other places. But yeah, this is a mistake insofar as Team Cherry had 100% control over damage modifiers, the damage numbers of all their tools, and everything else. As you can see, the damage modifier drop-off isn't the case with every enemy. I didn't compare shooting this bug when I had less upgrades, but it likely would have done less damage. There are just some rare cases, because of the way Team Cherry made the damage modifier system, where upgrading your crafting kit or needle can cause you to lose damage. And that is a mistake that we have to live with. Fortunately, the second mistake is one we no longer have to live with. This was a mistake that I discovered myself 5 months ago, right when this game came out. As you can see, my maps in this footage are incomplete. That is because I don't have a quill on this save file. And I noticed, back when I was trying to get ᵗⁱż's quill, that if you don't have a quill and you only have a map in your inventory, it gives you a specific description of just the map. It says, Map of Farloom partially filled out by Chakra. Without a quill, it cannot be updated. And I realized at that point that this is the description for all maps, whether or not you bought them from ᵗⁱ. And because you can go and buy maps from ᵗⁱ normally, Team Cherry probably just assumed everyone would get their first map from her. But as time progressed, it appears that Team Cherry learned from their mistake. That footage was from 5 months ago. This footage was from today. And as I went to buy a map from ᵗⁱ, just to see if that's what the dialogue still said, I noticed that Team Cherry had stealth changed it at some point. This was a change I don't think anyone ever noticed. I never even saw it mentioned on any of the wikis that this dialogue had changed in the past 5 months. It changed extremely slightly, of course. Now, when you receive your first map in Hollow Knight Silksong, you get this pop-up, of course, telling you how to use the maps. But when you go into your inventory and you have not yet bought a quill, the dialogue says, Map of Farloom, partially filled out. Without a quill, it cannot be updated. They removed the words by ᵗⁱ. That's all they did. Incredible work, Team Cherry. You fixed your mistake just by removing that the map was filled out by ᵗⁱ, because it wasn't if you didn't pick it up from her. And the map and quill dialogue is the same as it always has been. That's pretty much been the same because it never addressed ᵗⁱ by name. It's good that they made this change, because imagine being a bright-eyed new Silksong player 5 months ago, running around, never buying a map because you don't want to waste your precious, hard-earned rosary beads. And the first map you come across that's free is in ᵗⁱⁿʰ Atla. You come into here, you see a rune depicting the ᵗⁱณ, you see that it's a map, you realize that you've never picked up a map of your whole playthrough so far. You're an interesting player, you're mental mapping everything. But now, because this is free, you take the Weaver's map, you go in your inventory, and you see Map of Farloom partially filled out by ᵗⁱ. Because I think it's pretty clear, they literally swapped out that old dialogue for the new one at some point. They're pretty much the exact same use cases. And we shouldn't be giving ᵗⁱ credit for the inventions of the Weavers. I know for a fact ᵗⁱ has never been to this one specific area of Farloom, and she should not be taking credit of it in my inventory, okay? So I'm glad that Team Cherry fixed this mistake. It is one mistake that we no longer have to worry about in our day-to-day lives. But you know who we do have to worry about, dear viewer? Flick the Fixer. I made a video about Flick a couple months ago at this point, and that video perfectly goes over the third mistake Team Cherry made in Silksong. You see, Flick works on this wish wall until you beat the Bell Beast. What Team Cherry didn't realize is that you can skip the Bell Beast. More than just skipping the Bell Beast, you can go and beat the Skull Tyrant. Heck, you can beat the whole game without beating the Bell Beast. But let's just focus on the Skull Tyrant. The second that you kill the Skull Tyrant, it automatically sets a flag that lets you destroy Bone Bottom by bringing another Skull Tyrant in to run it over, and Pilby.
Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! KO! Here's the cover!
And once Pilby is dead and we defeated the Skull Tyrant, you'd expect Flick to be there fixing the bench, but he's still working on this wish wall. But he's also, don't worry, working on the bench. Yes, Team Cherry didn't expect Flick to ever be working on that wish wall by the time you got to the Skull Tyrant. So they just figured, you know, let's just keep both flags of him possible at the same time. And while I can't fault them for not knowing that you can skip the Bell Beast, I can fault them for programming Flick in such a way that his events can happen simultaneously and he can just duplicate himself. And I bring up this fact, this mistake, not only because it is a mistake, but because I'd love to see any other NPCs who can do this, if you can find it, dear viewer. And the only person you have to sacrifice to do this is Pilby. And Pilby's died so many times already, I think he's starting to enjoy it at this point. But yeah, Team Cherry, big mistake you made here. You've exposed Flick's dual life as a time traveler to all of us. And now on to a completely different mistake. One having to do with a quest called Brood Feast. One of the only quests that lets you create special items by using the right tools to kill enemies. And by one of the only quests, I mean the only quest. It's the only quest that lets you do that. Normally, you're trying to get food for the Huntress, so you want to hunt some bugs for her. Her and her children are going to need meat, mostly her children. She just wants you to bring food for her brood. And what you want to do to get that food is kill bugs using specific tools, like the long pin, the sting shard. There's a ton of tools you can use. The point isn't really every specific type of organ. The point is, what can you kill to get those organs? Team Cherry put a lot of good thought into what animals and bugs are actually going to be able to drop meat, and what bugs that you kill would not be able to drop meat. They pretty much make it so that every bug will be able to drop these organs, and they specifically make it so any bug that's made of cogwork doesn't drop those organs. And more than just the cogwork creatures, they also thought of even more cases like Lace and certain bosses who you don't kill with your tools. Lace doesn't die, Phantom and Widow do die, but you kill them in cutscenes after the fact. So if you kill them with the tools that would normally drop organs, they won't drop organs. Good on you, Team Cherry, for being smart in designing this quest, and also just not making it so murder of sentient beings will drop organs for Hornet to take. She's not that insane quite yet, I say as she takes the hearts of many sentient beings later in this game. What I don't understand is some of the creatures they do allow to drop organs. Now, these little flying bugs, I believe they're called fascias, it's reasonable for them to drop organs. They're not plants, they're bugs meant to disguise as plants, so they would have organs to drop. However, a lot of other creatures in Shellwood are fully plant-based creatures, and they should be not dropping skewered, meaty organs when dying to a long pin. That is not an organ of a plant-like creature at all. It does not make any bit of logical sense for that creature to have dropped that organ. There are some bugs that can disguise as plants, I know, but if you look in the Hunter's Journal, specifically about that creature, I think I passed over it, as well as the others, so my fault, dear viewer. But if you look at these creatures, it is a floral foe. This is literally a plant. Fascia is a bug, that's fine. It's a drifting bug disguised as a flower. This is a plant. Plants should not be dropping skewered meat to be fed to the huntress. And it's just a mistake, pure and simple. That's all it is, dear viewer. It doesn't make sense for creatures like these to be dropping these organs for this quest. Team Cherry likely just made an automatic flag, variable filter, whatever you want to call it, where most normal enemies will drop those organs when killed in the right fashion, and they only made exceptions who didn't get that flag. They didn't consider every single creature in the game that wouldn't fit to drop these organs. These plants, they also drop organs. What organ does this bug have? It has a spindly neck, it might have a brain, a very small brain, but that's it. Maybe it has a stomach. I don't know how these things eat, they don't have mouths. The whole point is, this is pure and simply just wrong, okay? This is 100% a mistake by Team Cherry. These creatures should not be dropping these organs. That's all I gotta say. I think there might be others with this same mistake, but these were the most blatant ones I found in my testing. They did account for a lot of the ones that shouldn't be dropping organs, like I said, so good on them for doing that. This is a mistake, though. Team Cherry excels at the little details when making their video games. Both in Hollow Knight and in Silksong, the world feels so alive because of character interactions. You have this bug at the beginning of the game in Bone Bottom, who will freak out the second you bring the Bell Beast back here for the first time. You have characters who exist out in the world of Farming more often than not, like Chakra. And Chakra can be found in a lot of places surrounded by enemies, so Team Cherry, knowing that, made it so that if you brought any enemies to Chakra, she will actually help you fight them off. It's an incredible detail, especially given Chakra's whole personality as a warrior and a protector for Hornet. Thank you for protecting me, Chakra. I almost died on Steel Soul mode. So it is a shame when they miss big opportunities to implement these kind of interactions. One of the first opportunities to implement this interaction was with Sherma. Sherma will never react to any enemy around him in the wild, except for the scripted moment where he does very substantially react to enemies in White Ward. So this is why I think this is a mistake. It is exceedingly simple to take this enemy, and get him over to Sherma right when you start the game here. You hit him twice, he is now crossing Sherma's path. Sherma does not react. Team Cherry has 100% had the capabilities to program NPCs reacting to enemies. Sherma's not going to fight them, I know that, but Sherma could at least like be scared or run. All these NPCs already have reactions to when Hornet taunts them or uses her down pogo. So I think it's blatantly an error to have a character like Sherma who goes out and interacts with most of the areas in this game where enemies can exist and not give him a single interaction for enemies around him. That is what I consider to be a mistake. You can disagree with me if you want, but I think this is a pretty clear situation where Team Cherry just didn't decide to give him something they decided to give to other people. And that's what I'm really angry about here, is the pure and simple discrimination against Sherma. How can you have a character like Chakra who fits the similar bill? She goes around the world, so does Sherma. Sherma explores on his own without the warrior ability, but he is 100% marked by his kindness and his want to never interact with combat at all. So why not make that something that he actively does instead of just not interacting with the world around him at all? I suppose it might be partially close to his actual character, given he seems to get through all problems around him by not interacting with them. So maybe this isn't a mistake. Maybe this was the world's greatest fourth wall breaking decision by Team Cherry to not give Sherma any interactions with enemies around him. But regardless, that would be my final mistake to document in this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, everyone watching out there today, my dear viewers. It's amazing that I could only find 5 mistakes to document in this video, and again, that really speaks to how much work Team Cherry did to iron out all the big problems they could find. Glitches aside, the fact that there's not more lore inconsistencies or logical problems is wonderful. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Have a good day everyone.